Thank you for the warm welcome. I appreciate it. I'll admit right off the bat, I was worried about going too long today. But Matthew Tibbs, who's graduating here, told me to say whatever I want. So if you think it goes too long, please blame Matt. I want to talk about success and teachers in our lives from my perspective. Engaging my success today, applause at the end might indicate it, but it may just mean you're happy that I'm done. One way I'm going to gauge success is by audience participation. I had a great introduction, but we need a mutual greeting. So I'd like to ask some of these graduates here to stand up and help me. Would everyone who has ever been in any one of my classes or attended any of my talks ever, please stand now and remain standing. I greet my students with a hello, and they say it back as loud as possible. It's rare to participate in sanctioned screaming, and it's fun. So graduates, let's show them how we do it. Hello! That's the stuff. Everybody else now, please stand if you are able. If you are able, stand up all over this arena right now. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So let's pass the peace and actually introduce ourselves to one another. You're going to sit near each other for a long time. You should know who you are. Afterwards, please sit down, and then I'll know you are done. So go ahead, greet each other now. Please turn to one another and say hello. Introduce yourselves. I already know everybody up here. Thank you, I appreciate that. Now let's all do some sanctioned screaming from our seated positions. Hello! That's the stuff. Wasn't that fun? Yes. Now that you know one another, when you see those near you cheer for somebody else, please cheer for them as well. And not all of our graduates have somebody we're here with them today. So if you don't hear anyone cheering at all, let's all step up and show that we appreciate them. And graduates, whether you know me or not, if you want, slide to the side and give me a high five or a hug. Audrey Cloyd, I know you'll give me a hug. Yep. And while this is a serious event, I would have loved to come out professional wrestling style to Dawkins Tooth and Nail as my theme song, because I'm thrilled and I'm hyped to be here today. We have many teachers in life, and some are remote. If you ever get to meet your teachers and your heroes, do it, even if it's only a meet and greet. I've met Don Dokken and George Lynch. I've also met Angelo Moore, Chuck D, Doug Pennick, former NASCAR driver Scott Riggs, and Ric Flair, to name a few. Woo! Brief moments that they won't remember, but I surely will. Once my son Dalen and I did get to ride in a minivan with Wild Mick Brown at the wheel and John Levin riding shotgun, and that was cool. And I've met many of you. And you will meet so many people and impact so many people going into the future. Even if brief, even if you don't remember all the people that you meet, you never know how much of an impact just a few minutes of your time might have. I'd still like to meet Kool Moe Dee, Dolly Parton, and Ozzy Osbourne. And if any of you know anyone that can make that happen, please email me. And you may think I'm kidding, dulac@etsu.edu. As for elements I find contribute to success, two include discovering your passion and determining what you're good at doing. I watched a lot of wrestling in high school, and I thought I'd make a pretty good pro wrestler because that takes a big personality. But I don't like working out, not at all. I had a passion for music early on and thought I'd make a great rock star because that also takes a big personality. But I'm not that great of a musician, and that's not self-deprecation. I can't read music or play complex arrangements. I can't harmonize. Sometimes I don't sing in key or even play the right chord. Others are better. For instance, my stepdaughter Corey teaches fiddle for a living and plays violin in a symphony orchestra. My friend Brian teaches voice to opera singers. His brothers Mike and Kevin and our friend Scooby are masters of their instruments. In fact, I know lots of people, friends of mine, who are virtuosos, and I simply am not. And a big personality alone will not suffice for that kind of career. But a big personality can help and be useful in teaching. I have a passion for it, and I'm good at it. One path to success is emulating successful others, and I do that. I witnessed the success of my Virginia Tech mentor, Scott Geller, firsthand. Scott has a TED Talk where he discusses self-motivation. Self-motivation is so important to success. At Virginia Tech, I also sat in on a course by Joe Germana and observed his teaching. I did not have to, I wanted to. That's self-motivation. One of his maxims is that excellent lecturing is a performance art. You see, it doesn't matter who you are or what expertise you have if nobody's paying attention. To lecture successfully, you have to put your heart and soul into it. You have to care and you have to deliver. Now, one could define success in many ways, but for me, the bottom line is happiness. Happiness, as I see it, is about satisfaction. One way to achieve satisfaction is to continually grow as a person. Muhammad Ali once said, a person who views the world the same at 50 as they did at 20 has wasted 30 years of their life. We're supposed to change, and hopefully in positive ways. But we also make mistakes. Success isn't a lack of failure. In part, it's learning from failure. And I've made lots of mistakes. I screwed up my youth. It was essentially a juvenile delinquent. I was arrogant and out of control. I was lucky not to have hurt anybody physically, but I definitely hurt people emotionally. And I've worked hard to change. And many teachers helped put me onto a better path. We must continually find and learn from new teachers. My first teachers were my parents, of course. And my brother Mark, to whom I apologize for the terrible way I treated him growing up. He knows. My mom and dad, Linda and Steve, taught me about love and support. I rebelled hard against essentially nothing, and they loved me anyway. So did my step-parents, Vern and Gail. They all encouraged me to leave construction and try community college. When I won ETSU's Teaching Award, my mom and dad bought me this fancy learning gown and silly hat, which are the best available. Until then, before these events, I would dress in the cap and gown in which I graduated, which was the cheapest available. My mom and Vern are here today, along with my wife, Denise. My dad and Gail are watching via the live feed. And today is my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Prior to community college, my teachers included Mark Lancaster and Delton Reddick in the trades of flooring and sheetrock. Along with their then spouses, Suzanne and Euphemia, they also treated me like family, giving me guidance I desperately needed. My teachers also included my daughter, Nikki. She came into my life when she was 9. Becoming responsible for her changed my life profoundly. She likely saved me. To keep her in my life, I quit drinking. To be a better role model, I got more focused on school. I wasn't perfect, but I did do my best. My son also taught me as I tried to improve as a parent. He had to endure a rough ride with regard to my relationships. My failed relationships made me look at the common denominator, which was me, of course, and this drove me to further work on myself. But it also allowed me to learn from my former stepdaughter, Madison, and her husband, Zach, as they brought 2 beautiful children into this world. Other than as a motivator to improve, I find regret isn't of much use. Mistakes happen, and they can open doors and windows which we didn't even know existed. My crooked path also brought me to the greatest love of my life, Denise. I will always work to further improve myself to be worthy of such a woman as hers and of such a love as hers. To quote a Rascal Flatts song she shared with me, God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. I love you and appreciate you so much. Increased appreciation in life is also a type of success. And even profound losses can deepen our appreciation of life itself. The losses of people in my life, such as Troll, Boo, Rich, and my stepbrother Chris, all taken too early, taught me to appreciate every day we are given. The loss of Chris also taught me to tell everyone that I love, that I in fact love them. I never told him that, but I did love him. I learned to end conversations with family and friends with the words, I love you, for we never know when it'll be the last opportunity. 2 current teachers of mine are my 4-year-old niece, who I call Lala, and my 94-year-old grandfather-in-law, Joe, a local fiddling legend. Lala is wide open to experiencing life in every way, and she reminds me to do the same. Joe deals with frequent pain and loss, as does everyone who lives to such an age. but he always has the most positive attitude. He and I also write music together, and we recently composed a song in tribute to little Jimmy Dickens, whom he taught me about. My friends and I recorded it as part of Thomas DeMello's capstone project, and we're going to send it to Marty Stewart. Joe and I think it would fit him perfectly. We don't actually know Marty, but we think it'd be fun to try. You see, we succeed even if this only remains something we did for fun. Always strive to do dreamlike things, because we only fail if we don't try. My teachers obviously included many academics. In particular, Mary Ballard, Scott, and Bill Dwyer helped me tremendously. Without their guidance, I wouldn't be here, and to them I say thank you. Always thank your teachers, whoever they may be. They challenge us to improve ourselves, and everyone has the potential to change for the better. But we cannot demand that others change, for we can only change ourselves. And we can learn to accept others just as they are. And people who disagree with us are people who should be respected. To truly succeed, we must learn to respect others who differ from us. You may disagree with my views, and I respect your right to disagree. To selectively quote Lincoln, we must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break the bonds of affection. They will yet swell when again touched by the better angels of our nature. But allowing our better angels to guide us is difficult. My teachers also included my grandparents, Ina and Tommy, and Helen and Clyde. They thought highly of me when I was at my lowliest. And they seemed to accept everyone. And they also instilled in me a love for God. And yet my faith does not separate me from those who don't believe as I do. Others' beliefs are not a threat to my own. I have meaningful friendships with people who are atheists, agnostic, Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, and virtually every facet of Christianity. With people of different socioeconomic statuses, races, cultures, sexual orientations, and identities. With people who are Republicans, Democrats, Greens, Libertarians, and Independents. None of them is a threat to me. They all enrich my life. One of my teachers of late is Gwen Creek, who's in her 70s. We don't share the same politics or the same subdivision of religion, but we do share love for one another, respect for one another, and we accept one another, and we support one another. She always does whatever she can for anyone in need, regardless of whether she shares their views, and she inspires me. Thomas Jefferson once said, "I never considered a difference of opinion in politics, religion, philosophy as cause for withdrawing from a friend." You see, Jefferson achieved freedom from that type of personal prejudice. And isn't freedom what America is all about? Freedom to think and to believe and to do whatever we want as citizens? Do we really want everyone to be just like those in our own in-group? Would it be true freedom if we were all exactly the same? I believe we'd all be better off if we respected and accepted those different from us and those with whom we disagree. And we have the freedom to make that choice. And I thank those who made our freedom possible, those in our military who protect our Constitution. Along with our police, firefighters, and emergency responders, they also protect our lives. And I know all of them helped all of us be here today. To be successful, we must also resist apathy. The people who run the world are those who show up. Success is also about showing up, not just in politics. Show up to do charity work. Show up to help a struggling coworker or a family in crisis. We must be the change we want to see in the world. In my view, we must also resist bigotry. After 9/11, Mr. Rogers helped kids struggling to make sense of what happened. He said, "I am convinced that when we help our children find healthy ways of dealing with their feelings, ways that don't hurt them or anyone else, we're helping to make our world a safer, better place." And he always said, "I like you just the way you are," to everyone. What a teacher. We're at our best when we're at our most compassionate. It is a hard world, but it's also a beautiful world. We have the power and the responsibility to change it for the better. Taking responsibility is another important path to success. Viktor Frankl survived the horrors of a Nazi concentration camp and the loss of his family in that genocide. And yet he was a profound believer in the possibility of people to triumph in spite of tragedy. He thought we must make meaning in life to have happiness. And that takes determination and persistent effort. He thought the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast should be balanced by a statue of responsibility on the West Coast. We have to work with and make the most of whatever we have. To succeed, we can't make excuses. To truly succeed, again, in my view, we must learn to forgive and to love. We must forgive ourselves while working to strengthen our characters, and we must forgive others. To succeed at that, we must give up hate. There is evil in this world, and evil feeds on hate. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That is very straightforward. It's the golden rule. It's commanded by Jesus, but it's actually advocated by almost all of the world's religions, if you read them properly, and also by secular philosophers. It's very straightforward, and yet it's the hardest thing to do. We can't really do it if we don't love ourselves or have confidence. Martin Luther King showed pacifism is the furthest thing from cowardice. To look into hateful eyes and return that glance and that glare with love, that's true courage. To gain courage, we must give up fear. Fear and hatred are intertwined, and ignorance promotes both. We must open our hearts and our minds, and we all have that power. Alice Walker remarked that the most common way people give up power is by thinking they don't have any. We all have that power. Appreciation is an active thing. Forgiveness is an active thing. Love is an active thing. And continued success is an active thing. If you're in healthcare, it's working compassionately with patients when you're completely worn out. In education, it's dedicating yourself even more to the child who seems most problematic. In business, it's taking a stand when pushed to do something you know is wrong. But those are your successes to come. At this point, let's focus on your success today. Celebrate. Drop your troubles right now if you have them. If you're going out to eat, leave an extra big tip. Inspired by these graduates, blow somebody's mind with kindness today. So let's see if I succeeded. Will you participate with me once more? All who are able, please stand one more time. Everybody, on your feet and help me out. Let's share our pride in these graduates and in this fine institution we have at ETSU. Let's do some more sanctioned screaming. Let's divide the room from here over to blue on my left and from here over to gold on my right. And when I motion to your side, shout it out and be loud. Let them hear us at the Carnegie. Are you ready? Louder! Louder! One more time! Yes! That's the stuff. You may be seated if you wish. Congratulations to you all. Graduates, when we conclude, throw your silly hats as high as anyone has ever thrown them. Hug those who came with you and tell them that you love them. Thank you. Thank them for supporting you. Everyone else, tell your graduates that you love them and thank them for making you proud. To conclude, I thank my students and our faculty for being my teachers. And I thank you all for your time and attention. I wish you all the greatest successes life has to offer. May God bless you all, and go Bucks!